Hi again, Walter Rauschenbusch, page 386 of Christianity and the Social Crisis. The last chapter, What to Do. Rauschenbusch has been discussing the tendency in capitalist societies of the West to think of stewardship in terms of ownership. So what should be the limits, according to Christian principles, of private property and individual ownership? How should we think of property at all in view of the Old Testament principle that the land is mine, says Jehovah? Rauschenbusch goes on, the present movement for federal and state interference and control over corporations, of which President Roosevelt is the most eminent exponent and leader, this is 1907 when Teddy Roosevelt is still in, is an effort to reassert the ownership and mastership of the people and to force these stewards of public powers back into the position of public servants. The next decade will probably show whether they are willing to take the position of well-paid servants and cease from ousting the owner. If not, the people will have to say, render the account of thy stewardship, for thou canst no longer be steward. This movement is of far-reaching historical significance. It could be immensely quickened if the moral forces of the community would strengthen it by stiffening public sentiment on stewardship. The church should turn whatever advanced moral insight it possesses, like a searchlight, on everything that claims to be ownership and scrutinize it to see if it is not, in fact, merely stewardship which has thrown off its responsibility and is running away with the property. It is said that all the cordage used by the English Navy has a red thread running through the hemp, which proves that it is public property wherever it may be found. It would be interesting if the rigging of our private commercial craft could be overhauled to find the red thread of public ownership. We all draw our life, our safety, our intellect, our information, our organizing ability from the common fund of the community, and we have not paid our obligations when we have settled our tax bill. The community could well turn on each of us and ask, what hast thou that thou didst not receive? But if thou didst receive it, why doest thou boast as if thou hast not received it? The doctrine of Christian stewardship has been strongly emphasized in church life in recent years, but mainly from the churchly point of view. It is a new formula designed to give our modern men of wealth a stronger sense of responsibility and to induce them to give more largely to the church and its work. But if a rich man withdraws $1 million from commerce and gives it to a missionary society or a college, that simply shifts the money from one steward to another, and from one line of usefulness to another. The ecclesiastical idea of stewardship needs to be intensified and broadened by the democratic idea. Every man who holds wealth or power is not only a steward of God, but a steward of the people. He derives it from the people, and he holds it in trust for the people. If he converts it to his own use, the people can justly call him to account in the court of public opinion and in the courts of law. If the law has hitherto given an absolute title to certain forms of property and has neglected to insist on the ingredient of public property and rights involved in it, that does not settle the moral title in the least. The people may at any time challenge the title and resume its forgotten rights by more searching laws. The Christian church could make a splendid contribution to the new social justice if it assisted in pointing out the latent public rights and in quickening the conscience of stewards who have forgotten their stewardship. In turn, the religious sense of stewardship would be reinforced by the increased sense of social obligation. Our laws and social institutions have so long taught men that their property is their own and that they can do what they will with their own, that the church has uphill work in teaching that they are not owners but administrators. Our industrial individualism neutralizes the social consciousness created by Christianity. Next time, solidarity and communism. This is one of the reasons Rauschenbusch was not a friend to many conservative Christians in the early part of the century, despite the fact he was a Baptist and a Protestant. His social consciousness estranged him from many of his fellow Baptists at the time, got him involved in what was presented to me when I left the Watchtower as the social gospel, a false gospel according to that way of looking at this form of Christianity that emphasizes the social dimension of Christ's teachings and the Bible teachings, really, from the Old Testament as well. Put in a link to a video we did from the work of Walter Brueggemann on Naboth and his vineyard and King Ahab, the limits of private property in ancient Israel. See you soon.